Welcome to the Adventures of Andrew Briggs. My name is Andrew, and these are my adventures. This is a podcast about the places I go, the people I meet, the things I see, and some of the lessons I learn along the way. So hop in, and let's go. Hello, and welcome to episode 3. So for the past 7 months or so, I've been driving my Chevy van around the U.S. I'm currently sitting in the back of it at Blackwater River State Park in the Panhandle of Florida. For the past week or so, I've moved pretty quickly through the southern states, through Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. I spent 2 weeks in Austin, Texas, and got hit by that once-in-a-century snowstorm. There's some interesting things that happened along the way, but I'll talk about all that when I eventually catch up to that point. For this episode, I initially planned on it being about Las Vegas and Utah, but I'm going to take some of the advice from my last episode, and I'm going to slow down. So this episode is just going to be about what led up to Vegas, my experience at Vegas, and what led up to Utah. So after leaving Southern California, I started heading east towards Nevada, going off first initially out into land that I'd never been into before. I touched on Route 66 because there was advertisements and signs all over the place for it, so I wanted to drive on that considering it's the main street of America. It's an iconic highway. It stretches from Los Angeles to Chicago. I just wanted to drive on that to check that off the list. So I did that, and then this was the first night I stayed at a truck stop. And I was a little hesitant, a little nervous to stay at a truck stop because I didn't know if I'd be running into some sketchy or creepy truckers, but that wasn't my experience at all. For the most part, they kind of stick to themselves. They stay in their trucks and hang out with their dogs. Or the guys that are talking to you, they're really friendly and nice. So the problem I did run into was that when the truckers pull into the truck stops, they leave their trucks running all night. And it's not easy to sleep next to 20 idling diesel trucks. So the next day, I went and got some earplugs. But I woke up the next morning not a great night of sleep. But I had a lot of excitement and adrenaline going through, and I moved on to the next city, which was the next city in front of me was Lake Havasu City. And I hoped that I could see Havasu Falls when I got there. But when I got in the city, I realized that Havasu Falls is actually like a 4 or 5 hour drive away and then a 10-mile hike in from the city. So I have all the gear for that in the van right now, but I didn't have it fit in my schedule because I was going to be meeting up with the people in Utah in a couple days. So I had a kind of a set schedule at that point, so I couldn't make that happen. Well, at some point, hopefully I can make it back there, but I really enjoyed Lake Havasu City, actually, so it's really hot in that area, so I just went down and I swam in Lake Havasu, and really what I thought was it'd be a fun place to go back to at some point with friends and family, and go boating, and hang out at the casino, and they have like a imitation London Bridge, and a fun boardwalk area, kind of a small little tourist town, which it's pretty fun. I could see myself spending some time there and enjoying it. I had some time to kill, so I looked on the map to see if there was any other points of interest nearby that I wanted to see, and there was Hoover Dam. It was about 20 miles away from town or so. So I headed in that direction, and I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's a dam, but there was people boating at the top of the dam, at the bottom of the dam. I just got out, took some photos, and did some swimming at the top of the dam. A nice little area. I filled up on gas, and then I started heading north in the direction of Vegas. On the way there, I stopped at a few viewpoints, but also when I got to Hoover Dam was closed because of coronavirus. And this is something I worry about as I get over to the East Coast, that some of the museums that I want to see, that I really look forward to, I worry they're going to be closed. Because quite a few things along the way have been closed. Like Four Corners was closed, and also the Tabasco factory in Louisiana was closed, and a few other things, but we'll see when I get there. I guess we'll deal with that then. At Hoover Dam, since that was closed, there was another viewpoint nearby, right next to it, that was the Lake Mead Overlook. That it was intensely windy up there, but it was a beautiful view over the lake, and there was this cool tunnel through the hillside, through the rock. So at least I got to see something while I was up there. From there, I started to head towards Vegas. So when I got into Vegas, I didn't have any plans or reservations or anything like that because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just wandering around out here and trying to figure it out along the way. So when I got there, I decided I want to stay at the Luxor because it's a cool shape. It's a huge pyramid, and they have an Egyptian theme, which I thought was cool. But they were all booked, so I had to find another place that was called the Circus Circus. It's kind of a cheaper one. It's kind of a sketchy one, actually. I googled Circus Circus a couple weeks ago, and the first thing that came up was someone got murdered there. And when I was in the parking lot, I found someone's debit card on the ground. I contacted him on Facebook and let him know I had it, but he told me that it was stolen and he had already canceled it and everything. So there was some crime going on. There was a little dangerous in that area. So anything that I had that was of any value to me, I brought up to the room on any of my technology and my longboard and my guitar. And I looked like somebody from the West Coast walking through the casino with a guitar and a longboard. One of the things I was most excited for when I got into the room was air conditioning. I got in, I turned it on as cold as it could go on full blast. Because, I don't know, when I bought my van, the guy told me that he had just put a new condenser, an air conditioning condenser on it. But I'm still not getting cold air blowing out. When I was in Utah, I opened up the filter and tried to pull out as many leaves as I could, but there wasn't much in there. So if anybody has any suggestion of how to get cold air coming out of that, let me know, because I just got to Florida and it's hot and I'm going to continue to be going south, so it's going to get hotter. So let me know, please. But now in Vegas, my experience with gambling is pretty limited. I mean, when I turned 18, I was 18, the gambling age, 21, 18, whichever, when I turned 18, I went in and I lost 40 or 60 bucks a number of times at the casino playing Spanish 21. Me and my buddies would have poker parties every once in a while, but for the most part, really wasn't much of a gambler. I'm not much of a gambler, but I was excited to get the experience of Vegas. So night one, I only stayed 2 nights in Vegas. The first night, since I got to the city a little bit later, I just stayed in the hotel casino and gambled there. Put $100 in this machine, and I won 144. So I printed off my $244 ticket, and I went up to the room, put it on my desk, and I slept well that night. The next day I woke up, and this was my day to explore the Strip. Circus, I'm just going to call it the Circus because it's easier to say. So the Circus was kind of farther away from the Strip than some of the other hotel casinos. So it was a decent walk on the way there, but it was cool because I got to see all the different casinos and all the huge casinos and all the different iconic spots. So the first thing that really jumped out along the way was a huge golden building, which was Trump Hotel. I saw the Venetian and Bellagio, the Flamingo, the Mirage, Caesar's Palace, and Hell's Kitchen, which was cool to see too, because Gordon Ramsay's awesome. I just kind of wandered around. I'm not much of a city person. I'm more of a forest and river kind of guy. So during the day, it wasn't too impressive at Vegas. I mean, it's just another city. But I got a half-baked shake from Ben & Jerry's. I got some pizza and beer, not from Ben & Jerry's, but from this Italian restaurant nearby. And it was kind of interesting being in Vegas during coronavirus because there's goods and bads, like everything. The good is that there's less people, so it's less jam-packed. But the bad is that there was no live shows going on, which was a bummer. Which I feel like I didn't really get the full Vegas experience if there's no live shows. So maybe someday I'll have to go back and see some of those. After eating pizza, I walked back to the hotel, dropped off my leftovers, dropped off my backpack, and I wanted to come and then I relaxed for a little bit. But I wanted to go back to the Strip at night to see the city all lit up. And that was actually, I could appreciate the city more so at night. It was shiny and glorious. It was pretty cool. There was 2 places that I wanted to gamble specifically. I wanted to gamble at the Bellagio and I wanted to gamble at Caesar's Palace. Really, I wanted to gamble at the Bellagio just because it's a cool Italian sounding name, the Bellagio. And Caesar's Palace because I liked the theme. I liked the art and the statues and the architecture. I liked the Greek theme. So I went at the Bellagio, I won $40 playing blackjack. And at Caesar's Palace, I went up and down a little bit, ended up breaking even. But it was interesting just walking around because I didn't even know how you can walk down one side of the Strip and stay inside the whole time. Like all the casinos are connected. And I didn't know that. It was just interesting to see how they had this whole thing designed. It was also cool to see all the different types of games they had. Obviously, they had slots and these kind of games. And obviously table games, but for me it was more interesting to see all the different kinds. One of the ones that jumped out to me was watching people bet on sports, which I'm not a huge sports guy, but watching people watch sports is really interesting, and especially when they got money on it. They have like, I don't know, 20, 30 screens up there with a bunch of different things going on, but anything from baseball, basketball, football, horse racing, probably dog racing, I don't know, anything. And at that point, there was some big basketball game going on, and I was right there at the end of it, and some people were getting really stoked and getting really excited about it. They just won a bunch of money, and some people were crushed. They had the opposite. So I started heading back in the direction of the circus because I had walked over 20 miles that day and I got a blister on the bottom of my foot, and as I was walking by Hell's Kitchen on the way back, my blister popped and squirted in between my toes. It was just nasty. I hope you're not eating right when you're listening to this, but probably doesn't help. But I limped my way back to the circus, and this is where my more serious gambling started. So I told myself going into Vegas that I'm either going to win $1,000 or I'm going to lose $1,000. Most likely lose $1,000, but like $1,000 is a lot of money to me. But I wanted to do this Vegas experience right. I wanted to put a bunch of money up and have a good time with it, and just to see and get the experience of what Vegas is about. So I mean, I went down there and I put $1,000 to a blackjack machine I was playing on, and you go up and down. At some points you're up to $1,500. Sometimes you're down to $600. Then you're up to $1,200. Then you're down to $800. It's just like this up and down dance that you're doing. This emotional roller coaster it's taking you on, because when you're winning, it's exciting. Your adrenaline's going and you forget to breathe. I was forgetting to breathe. I was so zoned in on this machine. And when you're losing, you feel pretty helpless. It sucks. But at some point, like I said, if I got over $1,000, I would cash out. But at at one point I got up to $2,100, and at one point I got up to $2,300. So I was over $1,000 up, but I didn't cash out at that time because greed got a hold of me. And in that moment, what I told myself was, you know what's better than winning $1,000? Winning $2,000. And I'm sure if I would have got to $2,000, I would have said, you know what's better than $2,000? $4,000. But I didn't even get there because before I knew it, I was at $0. I went back to the ATM twice, pulled out another $400, came back and lost that real quick too. I went up to the room feeling like a piece of trash. I never felt that sort of loss before. I felt like there's nobody I can blame here. I'm the only one at fault here. And what was going through my mind was, how many hours of work did I just blow in one night? That was not fun math to be doing in my head. But the perfect word that came to mind to describe how I felt was, I felt like a loser. I just felt so terrible. I mean, it's Sin City, and I could sure feel the sin in me. I was laying on the bed, just trying not to feel that bad, trying to feel a little bit better. And I got up, and I saw that $244 ticket on the desk from the night before. Told myself I could wait till tomorrow morning, I could cash it out, and I could cut my losses. Or I could take it downstairs right now, put it into that machine, find my way back up to 1,000, and cash out immediately. And I will cash out at this point. So that's what I did. I went downstairs, I put it in the machine, eventually found my way back up to $1,012, and immediately cashed out at that point. The same guy was sitting next to me, that he was sitting there the whole time, and he was winning big, man. Like he had to call the attendant over twice because he had won so much that the machine wouldn't give you that much money. He had to have the attendant give him the special ticket, and he kept showing me all the money he was winning. I'm like, that's cool, dude. Yeah, sweet, man. Good for you, man. Awesome. And when I got that $1,012, I printed it off. I showed it to him. We bumped knuckles, and I headed over to the cashier and I cashed that out, and I felt a little better about myself. I think at the end of the day, I lost somewhere around $400 or $500. Don't do the math on it because I'm not exactly sure of the numbers because I was drinking and I was smoking weed. I'm not exactly sure what the numbers are, but somewhere around there, I paid $400 or $500 for that experience, I guess. I mean, Vegas is a fun place, but like a lot of fun things, it can be very dangerous in excess. And I guess control and moderation is the key, But it can take everything from you. Like people, like this has ruined some people's lives. Like not only can it take your money, but it can take your friends, your family, your career. It can take everything from you. And the casinos and the machines are designed in this way, where like the machines with the scrolling, the bright flashy lights, the sounds, it's designed to prey on your impulses. And the casinos are designed in this way, where it's free drinks, dim lights, no windows, no clocks. You don't know what time it is. So before you know it, it's 4 a.m. and you've lost $1,400. But yeah. So I was trying to think why even do this? Why even go there and do that? I mean, I asked myself why a lot, which I think is an important question to ask. But I just wanted to understand the experience of what gambling is, and like why is gambling something that people struggle with? And I just wanted to understand more about what that was like, and I could understand, I guess, another level of what greed is. And it was interesting to feel, but it doesn't feel great. When you're winning, it feels great. When you're losing, it feels terrible. I'd say if you plan on doing something like this, then just use control and moderation, or just avoid it altogether, because that's not a bad idea either. After leaving Vegas the next morning, I brought all my stuff back out to the van and took off. I kind of left with my tail between my legs a little bit and headed to Mesquite, Nevada. The people from Utah, they wanted me to deep clean the van because of the Rona. So I found this place that had it was a car wash and a laundromat right next to each other. So I parked in the car wash, went over and did my laundry there, and I did all my laundry. I didn't even have any clean shirts, so I was doing my laundry shirtless. And this lady came up to me and she gave me one of her husband's shirt. I don't think she was like weirded out with me not having a shirt on. I think she just thought that I couldn't afford it or something. So she was trying to be nice, or maybe she was trying to get rid of one of her husband's shirts she didn't like. But I mean, it's not really my style. It's a baby blue polo t-shirt, but I've worn it a couple times and it was really nice of her. So I got it all cleaned up, all the laundry folded and everything, and I headed over to another casino. I didn't gamble there. I'd lost enough money already. But I stayed the night in the casino parking lot, which they have no problem with you doing because it's likely that you go spend some money in there. But it was actually a cool parking lot, which is a weird concept because it's just a parking lot. But it was a wide open parking lot. There was like this eerie hillside that had there was a sign, like the sign on the top that said Eureka, kind of like a deep blue purple sunset around it. And a big lightning storm came through. I didn't get any rain, but loud thunder and lightning came through, and it was a really intense one, which was cool to experience. The next day, I met up with the people in Utah, and that's when I actually started doing something more productive. I built a small home for them, not all the way to completion, but I got it all the way up to sealed for winter. And I explored some national parks around there and some state parks. But that'll be the next thing I talk about on the next episode or two. So not only am I doing this in audio version, I'm also putting it on YouTube, and I'm cutting together some pictures and videos that I took along the way. So if that interests you, maybe check that out next time. And if you're watching it right now, I hope you enjoyed it. And like I said, I'm in Florida right now, and I'm going to continue to head south towards the Keys. And if there's anything that you would suggest for me to see, send it my way, and maybe I'll be able to make that happen. If you have any idea what to do about my air conditioning, send that over to me also. And if you have any questions, also send those as well. You can contact me through Instagram. I set up an account for this podcast. It's called AdventuresOfAndrewB. My personal account is Andrew Al Briggs, or you can email me at andrewalbriggs@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook, and I just said my name like 4 times, so I'm sure you can figure it out. Other than that, yeah, thank you for taking the time to listen to this. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day.